Howdy, y'all. Caleb here. Whew, it's an exciting day because they just updated the Battlescroll and points for Age of Sigmar, and that includes Seraphon, and boy, it's exciting. So, we have the Battlescroll, we have our FAQ, and we have the points updates that we're going to talk about. Real quickly, what changed? I think the bad news is I think the Kroak bomb, the Trog bomb, whatever you want to call it, is probably dead. They really took the nerf bat to that strategy, and granted, it was pretty powerful. I think there's some ways they could have fixed it without going quite as harsh as they did, but they really crushed it hard. Now you can only cast one spell through the Vassal, and so that really hurts that strategy. You got to get Kroak basically up in their face to do anything. So that's going to be rough. We'll talk about that here in a second. And then, the good news is I think Saurus side of things got quite a bit better just from the unit coherency and points drops. So this is going to be a very interesting time for Saurus. I think I'm pretty excited as a Saurus enjoyer. I'm very happy to see some of those points drop and some of the other rules. So we'll get into that. First, I want to look at the changes to the core rule. This is in the Battlescroll, because I think a couple of these will inform our decisions on points later and really makes a big difference. The first one is unit coherency. They changed what used to be 2 to 5 models is coherent when they're within 1 inch of each other of at least one other model, to now 2 to 6 models are coherent if they're within 1 inch of one other model. So that's a big deal. And then obviously the next one is more than 6, you have to be within 2. So what this does is this makes any unit that has 6 models in it coherent, like they can sit just side by side. Most importantly for us, this affects Agridons, because they come in units of 3. Once you double it, it'll be a unit of 6. And before, the coherency was real weird once you got to 6. Now, they can just line up side by side, attack everything right in front of them. So Agridons got a lot better that way. Kroak got a lot better that way. So I think both of those units are going to be more valuable in our army because they can attack with everything. Kroak could attack over the top, but they wouldn't get all their bite attacks. And so that was kind of unfortunate. Agridons, I think this helps a ton. So big thing there. The other big change I think we need to look at is Lookout Sir. So now Lookout Sir is, you still subtract 1 from the hit roll if the hero is within 3 inches of a unit that has 3 or more models. And the hero doesn't have a mount except for companions. It also, this is a big one, it also cannot be targeted by attacks made with missile weapons if the attacking model is more than 12 inches away from them. Ooh. So now that we're getting that hero protection. I think this is a good thing. It was very beneficial in the last GHB with Galatian champions, and so I'm glad to see that here. But it does hurt some of our shooting, because the shooting that we still had, I think, was kind of focused on killing those heroes. You know, the Bastildon isn't good for clearing out hordes anymore. It's very good at taking down of specific targets. So like a Bastildon with Solar Engine only has 3 attacks now. I was really looking forward to sniping some heroes with it, but it doesn't look like you're going to be doing that very often now because of Lookout Sir. Generally, you don't want them within 12 inches of things, but maybe you can do it now. So I think shooting's gotten a little bit worse because we still hold on to this rule from the previous edition. I think that's a very good change for Lookout Sir. Arcane Tome is one also to point out that this does make, if you put it on somebody, they can only cast Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and Endless Spells. But they do become Antorian Locus for those benefits. So that does kind of help in some areas that they can be in a Locus. But they can only cast the very specific spells. So interesting rules there. The next thing to look at is our Battle Tome update. This is the FAQ, the errata for Seraphon. And I think it does clear up a few things that we had questions on. The first one here is for the Saurus Scarvet on Carnosaurs, the Maim and Terror ability. The question was, does this count? Do you roll a dice for every wound that has been taken by that unit ever, or that is only currently allocated to it? And the answer here is you roll 1 dice for each wound currently allocated to that unit. So I think what you're doing is, let's say you're attacking a horde or let's just say some liberators. 1 liberator is dead and 1 has 1 wound allocated to it. You're only going to roll 1 dice. Before we could argue that you would roll like 3 dice for that. So I think this actually makes the Scar Veteran, even though this is what we kind of assume they intended, this does make the Scar Veteran quite a bit worse. Almost in no situation would I take the Scar Veteran over the Old Blood at this point. The next question, are Jaws abilities of various units, such as Saurus Jaws, Vice-like Jaws, and Mighty Saurus Jaws, used before or after wounds are allocated by their combat attacks and slain models are removed before play? Answer, before. Yes! This means that the bite attacks, primarily like what I'm looking at is the warriors, but also think about the Kroak. This is allocated like with all your other attacks. So they don't get to pull models first, and then you swing your jaws at them. You're doing it all at the same time. So this is great because a lot of times I'd attack with all my Source Warriors. I would kill a lot of stuff, and then they wouldn't have any valid targets for their jaws because of how the opponent pulled their stuff. So this is a huge bonus for the jaws ability. I really like this. We have a Primordial Mire, the spell on the Troglodon. It basically just clarifies that when it goes off, it affects all the units near that terrain piece at the time that you cast it. It's not just like a lasting effect from that terrain piece forever and ever and ever. So just a clarification there. I think that's kind of what we assumed for that spell was supposed to be. We have Drain Magic changed, and this one was worded in such a way that it just didn't even make sense. So now this spell, it has a casting value of 6. If successfully cast until the end of that phase, each time a friendly Seraphon wizard is picked to cast a spell, instead of attempting to cast that spell, they can attempt to dispel an endless spell. If they do so, add 1 to the dispelling roll. In addition, until the end of the phase, subtract 1 from unbinding rolls made for enemy units. So it cleared up the dispelling roll stuff. And so that makes it interesting. You can dispel an endless spell in the hero phase, not at the start of the hero phase, using this ability. Kind of interesting there. There might be some, I'll have to dig into that. Cast an endless spell, dispel it. Maybe there's some interesting use there. Telepathic Summon. Here's the bad news. Telepathic Summons took a hit, but it's kind of what we expected it to be. Telepathic Summons is a spell that has a casting value of 6 and a range of 9. If successfully cast, pick 1 friendly Seraphon unit that is not a monster, and that's visible to the caster. Remove that unit from the battlefield and set it up again, wholly within range of the caster, more than 9 inches from all enemy units. That unit cannot move in the next movement phase. So, they updated it to Seraphon unit instead of just Source unit. So you can teleport Kroak. You could teleport heroes. Interesting. But it did add the restrictions of 9 inches away from enemy units and you can't move. So a lot more limited viability now. But if you want to boost that, you can use an Astrolith to boost that range to where you can set something up outside of 15 of the caster. So it still has some usability, especially if you're wanting to move like a big block of warriors further. And you can still pull things back to you. I think that's kind of how it was originally intended. So you can still pull units from anywhere on the board, basically, and back to the caster. So I think it's still quite good. It's just not kind of broken like it was before. You could teleport Source Warriors into combat. So makes sense. Kind of what we expected. Here's the real disappointing ones. Lord Kroak, Arcane Vassal. Once per phase, when this unit attempts to cast a spell, before making the casting roll, you can either pick 1 friendly Skink Wizard within 12 of this unit, or 1 friendly Oracle anywhere on the battlefield. Once per phase. That right there is what kills the Kroak Bomb. The same thing for the Slann, Starmaster down below it. This right here hurts the output big time of the Kroak Bomb. Now, we know the Kroak Bomb was kind of, maybe it wasn't overpowered. You could play around it, but it was very It wasn't very much fun for either player. Let's call it that. A incredibly long hero phase, tons of mortal wounds, just a little ridiculous. So now they fix that by making only one cast go through your Arcane Vassal. What that means is you can teleport your Troglodon, but you're only going to be able to cast one spell from Kroak, one spell from Slaawn through the Troglodon. That means most of your damage is not going there. So I don't think that strategy is worth it anymore. It's just too expensive. If you're not doing all those mortal wounds turn one, then it's just not worth it. You've got to find other ways to do your damage. So Kroak is short range now. I think the strategy with him is going to be trying to get him mid board, using his Astrolith to extend the range up to 16 inches on his War Scroll spell. So it's still decent, but it's not overpowered like it was. You do have to move Kroak a lot closer into unbind range, which there's going to be a lot of unbinding now. So I think Kroak, that strategy takes a hit. Maybe you'll probably be dropping Troglodon, if I'm being honest. You can add more bodies. More Raptidons is always good for that, so to give a little bit more board presence. We're going to have to see what kind of emerges from the Dracothian's Tail side of things. All right, that's the disappointing part. Kroxagora Warspawn, I saw that on there. I was hoping that they would just totally change his ability. They didn't. It's still add one of the attacks characteristics if any skink units like lose a model in this phase. But what they did is they updated the verbiage until the end of the phase. And so you're not just adding attacks every single time skink units are killed, which we kind of knew that was the purpose of the rule. So still just a weird interaction that's probably not going to happen all that often to get that +1 attacks. Terra Wings, the ability is the same. They just changed it to at the start of the shooting phase. So that there's no question of, does the opponent get to shoot the Terror Wings first before I get to activate this ability? So it's good that it's at the start of the shooting phase now. That makes sense. All right, that's it for the FAQ for us. Let's look at the points. The points are all pretty encouraging here, mostly. A lot of stuff in our army went down. I think you didn't see quite the raise in like Kroak and Troglodon because they nerfed it so hard on the actual rules side. So Spawn of Chotek, we'll start here at the top. Spawn of Chotek went down 5 points to 120. At first I thought they were removing all the 5-point increments, but they left some of them. So who knows? Spawn of Chotek down 5 points. That's not enough to really shift any list, but I'll take it. Saurus Guard up 10 points. So this is kind of part of your Kroak nerf. If you look down below, Kroak also went up 15 points, and Skinks went up 5 points. You see those units all a lot together. Kroak with Guard, and Skinks in Starborn side of things. So we see some decent increases in price there that will affect lists. You add enough Guard and Skinks into a Starborn list, which you normally have to do, you're going to have to lose something here. Here's the big one. Saurus Warriors are down 20 points. I like that. 20 points down. All right, so look at Guard. Guard are 140 for 10 wounds on a 3-up. Saurus Warriors are 180 for 20 wounds. Usually they'll always be on a 3-up. Just 40 points more. Gosh. Saurus Warriors, I love this price point for Saurus Warriors, especially over in Coalesce. Well, yeah, in Coalesce, of course, is where you're going to run these. That is awesome. That makes once you start, reinforcing these units, that makes that unit quite a bit cheaper. 180 for 20 wounds at -1 damage, 3-up save. I like that. Skinks went up 5. Bastildon with Ark of Sotek went down 20 points. All right, so we're playing this game with the Ark of Sotek again. How cheap will it go before we spam it? 180 isn't too bad. I liked it at 200. I still like it at 180. I like it better probably in Starborn side of things, where you can teleport this around, where you can drop it down outside of 7 inches and make the charge. I really like it there. So at 180, that's great. Bastillon with Solar Engine dropped 15 points to 250. I think that may be because shooting got, it's staying down a little bit. This wants to be a hero killer, and that's not really going to happen too much in this battle tome. It wanted to stay back and shoot from far away, but those targets aren't going to be quite as prevalent. The next one here, Stegodons, down 40 points. That is, 260 for a Stegodon. I'm pretty sure I said in a previous video I would like them at 260. So do I like them now at 260? That's you know what? They will one Stegodon might end up in more lists now at 260 than at 300. It was definitely overpriced at 300. They have some interesting use now at 260, being counting as 10 models on objectives. Interesting. Stegogeddon probably is still dead just because you're missing some of the buffs from the Stegodon Chief, but Stegodon at 260 might be a nice supplemental piece to an army. Lord Kroak goes up 15 points to 410. Critically, that makes him to where you can't take him an ally. I don't know anybody that was doing that, but maybe somebody was. So 15 points up for Kroak. You'll see the Kroak bomb a lot less, more so based on the rules, not necessarily the points. Source Old Blood down 5. I really wanted to take the Old Blood. I wanted him to be viable. Maybe if you're taking a very heavy Warriors list, he could be worked in to give that +1 to hit and wound on a block of Warriors. It just overlaps too much with Kotal's Claw, I feel like. So, all right, Saurus Scarvet on Agrodon, down 15 points. Hey, I like that. If you're taking a lot of Agrodons, then you can slot in this Scar Veteran on Agrodon a little bit cheaper. 160 is much better. He's still not really worth... His once per battle ability just... I wish it was a little bit better, to be honest. I wish it was a little bit better. But 115 is not, or 160 is better. Pterodon Chief down 10. I guess if you're taking Pterodons, that's a good change for you. I'm still not sure they're quite worth it. Here's some interesting stuff here. Source Old Blood on Carnosaur, down 25 points. Oh, thank you very much. I liked him at 285. I love him at 260. But the Scar Veteran on Carnosaur went up 5 points to 260, even though its rule got made worse. Well, clarified. Let's just call it clarified. Now these two are priced the exact same. There's almost no reason to ever take the Scar Veteran on Carnosaur. The Old Blood is going to generate you tons of command points. He's going to give you lots of utility by being able to use the same command point twice. That's what I mean by generating command points. Use the same command point twice. So I can use +1 to hit on 2 different things. +1 save on 2 different things. Rally on 2 different units. What else am I missing? Redeploy on 2 different units. There's lots of good stuff that he can do. The Scar Veteran is decent at attacking a monster, which he would probably lose to anyway. So, all right. Old Blood is for sure at the same price point, 260. I love that. Stegodon Chief went down 30 points to 300. Still not. He's just lost too much utility. I don't know what you would take him for. I think the only chance maybe like if you need kind of a beefy hero in Starborn, but I just don't know that you have the points for that. But the next one is exciting. Agrodon Lancers down 20 points to 190. Agrodons at 190. And they fight with the new Coherency. You can just line 6 up wide. Boy, I love Agrodons now. They're still not as efficient as Raptidons. Luckily, Raptidons didn't get changed. But they apply a different role. They're getting close to the same effectivity as Raptidons with this price decrease, but now you can fight 6 of them. So they reinforce much better than Raptidons do. So I like a unit of 6 Agridons in Coalesced. Imagine your 2 units of 6 Agridons side by side. Your Old Blood, all of this dropped in points. Old Blood is using Vengeful Defender. You send those 12 Agridons like a heavy cavalry charge right across the field, moving in the hero phase, moving in the normal phase, charging. Whew, I like that. I'm excited about Agridons and Warriors. Hunters of Huanche with Dart Pipes went down 5. Bolas went down 10. Okay, I like Bolas already as a utility piece. Just 80 points is a great price point now for taking this unit to stay in reserve, to pressure the backfield of the opponent, make them keep something back on their objectives. Can score your skink-based battle tactic of scoring an objective with skinks. And so I really like those at 80 points. That's a great price point for those guys. Kroxigor went down 15 points, both kinds. So normal Kroxigor are 160, Kroxigor Warspawn are 170. So both of those units benefit from the coherency changes. You know what? So do the next ones, Riptidons or Ripperdactyls and Pterodons. I might have to revisit those too because they come in units of 3. So you could now attack with all 6. And they're cheap enough. But let's go back to Kroxigor. Kroxigor and Kroxigor Warspawn got quite a bit cheaper. I like that. I still don't think they're quite as useful as some of the other units we have, just not nearly efficient. The Warspawn are nice having that -2 rend, but we can get that rend and damage from Agridons too. So I think that's just still like Agridons better. Kroxigor is such a great model. They are cheap. They are cheap now. 160 for Kroxigor is pretty interesting. Ripperdactyl Riders and Pterodon Riders went down 10 to 110. Man, I would have liked to see them go down to 100. At 100, they would have been very tempting to me. I think at 110, it's still going to be hard to justify in some lists, but maybe you can make them work with the coherency stuff. 6 of them, side by side. You can get a lot of attacks through with Ripperdactyls that way. Terrorwings went down 5 points to 70. I think if you're taking them for that utility of their shooting ability, and I think the 5 points probably doesn't make a difference, but it does help. So, all right. Overall, I think I feel pretty good about the points drops. I feel pretty bad about the changes to Arcane Vassal, but all the other stuff I feel like is either makes sense or is pretty useful. I did make one list just out of curiosity to see how many points I'm saving here. So let's take a look at this list. This is in Kotal's Claw. I've got a Saurus Old Blood on Carnosaur with Vengeful Defender and Sotek's Gaze. Now at 285. Oh, he's going to end Battle Regiment. He was at 285. Now he's at 260. So saving some points there. I took a Star Priest. I would have liked a Star Seer. I just didn't quite have enough points in this list here. Heavenly Frenzy, but probably I would really take one of the like Horror Frost or something like that. Although Heavenly Frenzy is pretty nice. And a lot easier to cast now with Primal Dice. So, maybe I do want to take Heavenly Frenzy. Here, I'm taking my 2 units of 6 Agridon Lancers. These are my Vengeful Defender units. Sending them across the board turn 1. They're going to go wreck some stuff. One of them will probably have the Star Priest Staff on it, which will help them do even more damage. So they throw out enough dice, all 6 of them being able to attack, they're going to clear some stuff. They're quite a bit cheaper now, so you're saving 40 points on each of those units. I've got a big block of Source Warriors with Spears now. With Spears. You're going to be saving 60 points on that unit. This is only 540 instead of 600. And then I've got 2 units of Raptidons all wrapped up in a Battle Regiment. And that comes in, I think it was 1990. It shows here 2,155 points. So we're saving over 150 points. I guess actually about 165 points in this list. And this is 160 wounds in a 1-drop. I think I'm kind of liking this. Another option. So I think we're going to save a lot over here on the Coalesce side. I think Coalesce stocks are going up. Starborn stocks are probably coming down. There's still some good stuff in Starborn. Raptidons over there are just fantastic still. Your casting is amazing, especially with this new addition and all the primal dice and stuff. But our damage output is definitely going down. One thing you might switch out if we can work the points might be for, let's go look over here. Let's go find Starborn or Stormcast. Where is it? These guys here, Quester, Soulsworn, they also drop to 230. This unit allows something to fight first or an enemy unit fight last on a spell cast. It was a hard spell cast before, but you could use primal dice for this. So if we go back to this list, we could cast that spell from them onto one Agrodons. Cast it onto a unit of Agrodon Lancers. That Agrodon Lancer is fighting first. So you at the start of the combat phase, you've made your charge with both your Agrodons. You're fighting first with that Agrodon unit, and then your other Agrodon unit gets to attack. So you could attack with 12 Agrodons before the opponent even has a chance to do it. And you can get these into their lines turn 1 with Vengeful Defender. That makes for a pretty awesome Alpha Strike from Coalesced. So that may be what I'm trying to cook up. Let me know what you think about these price points. Are you dropping Starborn for Coalesced, or what are you doing with Starborn now that the Kroak Bomb is dead? Maybe I've missed something. Maybe Kroak Bomb, there's a way to make it work. Let me know below in the comments if you figure that out. All right, guys. We'll see y'all next time.